The brain is divided into three parts: hindbrain, midbrain, and forebrain. The hindbrain has three components: medulla oblongata, pons, and cerebellum. Midbrain has reticular activating system, while forebrain it has hypothalamus, thalamus, the limbic system, and the cerebrum, which is also known as cerebral cortex. As can be seen from the picture, the hindbrain, which is the lowest part of the brain, it has the medulla, the pons, and the cerebellum, and then there is the midbrain, and then there is the forebrain, which is the most important part of the brain. It has the hypothalamus, the cerebrum. Let's understand the hindbrain first. It has three components. Number 1, the medulla oblongata. It is the lowest part of the brain. It supports activities like breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. It is also known as the vital center of the brain. Then the next part is pons, which is involved in sleep mechanism, particularly the sleep which is characterized by dreaming. And then the third part is cerebellum. It is a very well developed part of the hindbrain which maintains and controls an important function, which is the posture and equilibrium of the body. It also helps in coordination of muscular movements, and it also stores memory of the movement patterns which has been done earlier, and it retains that memory, such as walking, riding a bicycle. The next part is midbrain. It connects the hindbrain with the forebrain. It has the reticular activating system, which is responsible for arousal by being alert and active, and it also helps in selecting information from the environment. The forebrain is the most important part of the brain because it performs all the cognitive, emotional, and motor activities. The first component of forebrain is hypothalamus, which is the smallest structure of the brain. It regulates physiological processes such as eating, drinking, sleeping, temperature regulation, and sexual arousal. It regulates and controls internal environment of the body such as heart rate, blood pressure, temperature. And it also regulates secretion of hormones from various endocrine glands. Second is thalamus, which receives all the incoming sensory signals from sense organs and sends it to parts of cortex for processing, and it receives all outgoing motor signals coming from cortex to parts of the body. Third is the limbic system. It helps in maintaining the internal homeostasis by regulating the body temperature, the blood pressure, and blood sugar level. The limbic system also has hippocampus and amygdala. The hippocampus, it helps in long-term memory, while the amygdala, it plays an important role in emotional behavior. The fourth component, the cerebrum or the cerebral cortex, it regulates cognitive functions such as attention, perception, learning, memory, language behavior, reasoning, problem solving. Cerebrum is divided into two symmetrical halves, cerebral hemispheres. The left hemisphere, it controls the language behavior, while the right hemisphere, it deals with images, spatial relationships, and pattern recognition. These two hemispheres, they are connected by white bundle of myelinated fibers called corpus callosum. This corpus callosum, it carries messages back and forth between the hemispheres. Now the cerebral cortex, it has been divided into 4 lobes: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. The frontal lobe, it helps in cognitive functions such as attention and thinking. The parietal lobe has cutaneous sensations, and their coordination with visual and auditory sensations is promoted. The temporal lobe helps in the processing of auditory information. It also helps in understanding of speech and written language, which depends on this lobe. And the occipital lobe, it is mainly concerned with visual information. Spinal cord. It is a long rope-like collection of nerve fibers which run along the full length inside the spine. It has two major functions. Number one, it carries sensory impulses coming from the lower parts of the body to the brain, and motor impulses which is originating from brain to all over the body. The second function is performing simple reflexes. The simple reflexes, it involves a sensory nerve, the motor nerve, and the association neurons. Reflex action. Reflex is an involuntary action which occurs after stimulation. It occurs without conscious decision of the brain, and reflexes, they serve to protect organism from potential threats. For example, the knee jerk, pupil constriction, pulling away your hand from hot objects, breathing, these are all reflex action. Next is the endocrine system. The endocrine glands, they play an important role in our development and behavior. They secrete chemical substances known as hormones. The hormones are circulated by the bloodstream. The endocrine glands are ductless glands because they do not have any ducts to send their secretions to specific places. The endocrine glands, they form the endocrine system of the body. The major important endocrine glands of the body are pituitary, thyroid, pancreas, adrenal glands, ovary in female, testis in male. The pituitary gland is situated within the cranium just below the hypothalamus. It is divided into anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. The pituitary gland, it secretes the growth hormone, and it is also known as the master gland. Thyroid gland, it is located in the neck. It produces thyroxine, which influences the body's metabolic rate. The secretion of thyroxine is regulated by thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH. Underproduction of thyroxine can lead to physical and psychological lethargy. Adrenal gland. It is located above each kidney. It has two parts, adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. The secretion of adrenal cortex is controlled and regulated by adrenocorticotrophin hormone or ACTH. The adrenal cortex, it secretes a group of hormone which is called corticoids. The adrenal medulla, it secretes two hormones, namely epinephrine and norepinephrine, also known as adrenaline and noradrenaline. The function of these hormones are they help in increasing heart rate, oxygen consumption, and metabolic rate. Pancreas, it is located near stomach. It secretes a hormone called insulin. Insulin helps the liver to break down glucose for storage as glycogen by the liver. Diabetes mellitus is the condition developed when improper secretion of insulin happens. Gonads, testis in males and ovaries in females. The hormones secreted by these glands, it controls and regulates the sexual behaviors and reproductive functions of males and females. The secretion of hormones is maintained by gonadotropic hormone or the GTH. So the secretion of GTH, it starts at the age of 10 to 14 years in human beings. Ovaries in females, it produces the estrogens and progesterone. The estrogens, it regulates the sexual development of the female body. Secondary sexual characteristics such as breast development, widened pelvis, it depends on the proper functioning of estrogens. The function of progesterone is to prepare the uterus for fertilization of ovum. The testis in male, it produces sperms and secrete male sex hormones called androgens. The major androgen is testosterone. The testosterone, it promotes secondary sexual changes in males, which is physical changes, the growth of facial hair and body hair, and deepening of voice. So this was all about endocrine system. Whatever we learned in the previous videos about the nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord and the endocrine system, everything is very important, and the normal functioning of all these systems are very important for the behavioral well-being, for the psychological well-being. Without a balanced secretion of hormones, the body would be unable to maintain the state of internal equilibrium. Without the increased secretion of hormones during the times of stress, the human being will not be able to react effectively to the potential danger which can be posed by the environment. So without the secretion of hormones at specific time in our lives, we would not be able to grow, mature and reproduce.